Okay, are we ready? So I warned you during Gene's talk that you meet two people who were struck by lightning today, and here's the second one. And I keep them around me so I can avoid it, like Talisman or something. Okay, the next speaker is going to be Karla Huerta, and she's working with SNFL, which is a table grape breeding and production and fruit development corporation, and having a great time. And she just said to me, "How come you tell me this would be such hard work?" Well, it's easy. It's all easy work, isn't it? So come on up, and we'll get you started.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today, here for Andy and for us, to listen to all these anecdotes we have of him. My name is Karla Huerta, and I joined Andy's lab in 2015. I am currently the R&D technologist for SNFL, for the SNFL group, which is a table grape breeding company based, we have our test block in Fresno. Wait, there you go. So I landed in Andy's lab kind of by pure luck. As a lot of us in here, we come to Davis with different plans. My plan actually was to do rice genomics. So the graduate group that I was at allowed some rotations. So I said, well, before going to the lab that I know I'm gonna go, which is in rice genomics, I wanna do some rotations. And at that moment, I had Diane Beckles as my advisor. And I went to her office, and we went through the list of the professors I wanted to rotate in their labs. And I said, well, what about Andy Walker? And she's like, yes, he's great. You should go for it. Try to do a rotation in his lab. And she described Andy as a very happy, sunny person, which to this date, I really think it's one of the most accurate ways of describing Andy. He's a bright mind and bright personality. So I issued Andy an email, and he invited me to the lab. When we were in the lab, he was talking a lot about the genetic diversity of wild grapevines in Mexico. And he was telling me all about almost trips to Mexico. We actually were talking about almost doing a trip around my home state, Chihuahua. And actually, we do have a copy of Almost diaries from those trips, where he said that in Chihuahua, he had wonderful food, but some gastrointestinal problems. So yeah, we talked about that. It sounded super interesting to me. I knew that I wanted to work in plant genetics. And he took me to the lab. From his office, we walked to the lab, and in the lab, Claire was there, and Andy was like, hey, Claire, can you give her a tour? And Claire was like, oh, sure. And when I got to the lab, I met Sumaira there, and then Claire was there, and they were talking about this book exchange they were doing with Game of Thrones. They were talking about, their lives, and it just felt to me that it was a family. So I knew that I needed to be in that lab just because of the sense of family and the sense of warmth. And so I decided to go to be in the Walker lab. So I was there from 2015 to 2020. I did my PhD in horticulture and agronomy. I actually came into the plant biology graduate group, but after being in the Walker lab, I knew that I wanted to be outside, right there, working with the field, working with the soil. So I decided to change to horticulture and agronomy. So during my PhD, I worked primarily in two main areas of research. One of them was to work with the Pierce's disease resistance breeding program, where most of the lab works with. In there, I did some evaluations of different accessions that they were previously collected from northern Mexico and southern U.S. So I did some evaluations for Pierce's disease resistance in those accessions. I also did some work with a specific population that was developed using a wild grapevine from Big Bend in Texas, and that's how my passion for breeding started. Then I also had the opportunity to work in another project in Andy's lab, and that was very fun to my heart because he was working with grapevine diversity in Mexican wild grapevines. So I had the opportunity to go to multiple trips to Mexico, and one of them, Andy came with me. We went to central Mexico, and as Claire was mentioning, we just don't have a lot of pictures of Andy or like us in action. So I have a bunch of pictures of leaves, but not a lot of pictures of us. So in that picture right there, the one on the bottom, on the upper corner, there's Andy walking. We went to visit a germplasm for grapevines, and right next to the germplasm there was an avocado germplasm, and we were walking through that field. Also, there's a very unflattering picture where Andy took that. We just like stopped in the middle of the road, and I was like, there's a vine there. We got it, and then he just like rapidly took a picture. So I had a very wonderful time in the Walker Lab. So I graduated in 2020, and after I graduated, I landed a job at CDUFA in the citrus division, which I really enjoyed, and I learned a lot. However, it's not grapes, and I know that grapes, it truly is my passion. So about 6 months ago, I joined the SNFL group. As I previously mentioned, the SNFL group is a table grape breeding company. The table grape breeding company has the headquarters in Murcia in Spain. However, we have different test blocks around the world. So I joined in October 2021, and I am the R&D technologist there, where I am in charge of evaluating the new varieties that are bred, and then apart from them, we identify and understand and solve challenges that the table grape growers are facing with the already released varieties. And as I was telling Andy, he didn't warn me how difficult table grape production is. It's such a different animal. There's so many applications that you have to do, but really it became a passion of mine. So here in SNFL, we breed new varieties, and we have many varieties in the works. We are breeding for disease resistance, we're breeding for new flavor profiles, and we are breeding for different harvest windows. We have our varieties bred in Murcia in Spain, and then once they have potential for commercialization, they get sent through FPS to the US. So in here we test them and we evaluate their performance in the California weather, and then using the viticultural practices for California. And we have our test blocks in Fresno, where I am based, you know, the land of agriculture and F-150 trucks. And we have also test blocks in Spain. We have test blocks in Chile, in Brazil, Italy, Peru, in Mexico, in South Africa, and then in Australia. So apart from me, from working on that R&D part and running some evaluations, I also have the opportunity of meeting with growers and knowing which are the challenges that they have. It's been such an amazing experience of mine just to talk to I just don't get to talk to the growers, but I talk to the crew members, I talk to the nurseries. So this job has really been like a dream job of mine. As Andy previously mentioned, and as Samuel previously mentioned, Andy gets to go to Chile a lot, so he will talk a lot about his trips to Chile. And finally, I had the opportunity in February to go to during harvest season over there, and it was really amazing. Everything that Andy was talking about here, I could see it there. Andy always in class used to show this slide of someone inside like a pit, in Chile they call it calicatas, which is the picture in the middle. You see that there's like a hole, we call it here, or at least I'm calling them test pits, where they analyze their watering schedule, they look at the root system, they look at the soil profile, which I thought it was pretty awesome that after Andy talking about that, like I get to see there was a professor there giving us a lecture about what they normally are looking at when they are making a calicata. So that was pretty nice. I also got to visit a lot of different fields in Chile. I actually went where Samuel works at Univiveros, and I got to meet the team in Chile, which is an amazing team. And also, because when I joined the lab, I joined in October, I didn't see any grapes. So I got to see all our varieties during harvest when I was there. So that one was pretty cool. So, wait. Sorry, I forgot to mention. In this picture, as I previously mentioned, we are breeding our varieties in Spain. And in the picture, you can see Juan Carreño, which is our table grape breeder in Spain. And then you also see Edith Arancibia, which is our general manager here in the North America team. And then Polivio, who works here in the US and then in Mexico. So we have a very international team. So Andy was, when I took this position, I was asking Andy, like, oh, Andy, please tell me, what should I do? And he was always like, well, it depends. He always says, like, it depends what you want. But I made my choice. I said yes to this job, and after I said yes to this job, he was like, yeah, that was the right answer. So it's so funny to me how I came to Davis with something completely a different plan, and how being in the Walker Lab just made me so passionate about viticulture. It's just like I came to work in rice, and now I work with table grapes, and I get to do these for a living, and I love it. So thank you very much, Andy, for everything. You are a very great boss, a great leader, and like leaders also know how to build their teams. And he really knew how to build his team, like all the staff that he has. All of them are amazing, and all of them taught me something very different. I got to learn something from Samara, from Ron, from Dan, from Alan. So everyone it's a great team. And it's weird to me that no one has mentioned that the Walker Lab has a slogan, and I didn't coin the slogan, and then so you tell me if this is correct. It is not just a lab, it's a lifestyle. Is that correct? No? Claire? It's not a lab, it's an experience. Oh, it's an experience, yes. It's an adventure. Yeah, it's not just the lab, that's the thing. It is a family. And the general theme of all these presentations is that, like Andy always makes the time to talk to you. And I think what I'm trying to say when he sets the time to talk is that he makes you feel like he's just talking to you, and that you are like you have like a special connection. So I really like that. So thank you, Andy, and thank you to the Walker Lab, and thank you for listening, everyone. There you go.
Okay, now, that's it, except there's a few more to go.